Good morning. Fun times. Today, though, we'll talk about finding peace. I think it's tips that I've learned over time on how to live a peaceful life. Done a lot of reflecting, done a lot of growing, and I want to share some of that with you. It's just what worked for me, and I'm going to talk about that today. All right. So if we can all have a little bit more peace, that's what it's all about. Okay. So let's talk about this. First thing I think is pretty fundamentally basic, although it's a lifetime of learning. We hear this all the time. It's a combination, okay? I put down journaling because I want to kind of dive into that a little bit today. I love journaling. I tie that in with meditation, prayers. That's kind of, to me, gives me a very similar feeling. You know, is good to get things off your chest, to get things off your mind. That's how the brain works. We can continually store things. We continually hold on to things, and we need an outlet for that. It's like a mental cleanse, right? Just like how people go through a body cleanse, we all go through mental cleanse, and journaling I find is one of those ways. Some things sometimes you might not have people or outlets to share, talk to, or whatnot. And it's important to get that out. So I find journaling is a way to do that. Meditating is a way to do that. Prayer is definitely a way to do that. I love having music on. Is always good. It speaks to a different part of me, not just a logical and conscious side. So journaling is a big one. Every time I feel things are getting heavy, I love to journal. I probably should get into a better habit of journaling all the time as opposed to just a place where I feel, I guess, no one to talk to, I guess. So journaling overall, I would feel is a very, very important thing. So I'm going to do more of that, of a habit on a day-to-day basis. Peaceful life overall, when I talk about that, seems to be a time where maybe things aren't as well. There's a lot of mental clutter going on. Things along those lines. I feel that's my mindset is to search for peace in a time like that. And that's usually where I turn to journaling, right? Meditation, I do all the time. Prayers, not as often, although those are the three. That's the foundation for me, okay? So I turn to that a lot. That's number one. Number two tip for those who know me, I have no issues laughing at myself and having fun, being real. Those who are around, they kind of know that and they see that. I'm an open book for the most part. And I've learned probably over the last few years is to be very, very comfortable and getting to know who I am and being with myself. So times where I would even eat at a restaurant by myself or watch a movie by yourself, and I've never experienced stuff like that until recently, and it's very liberating. It's very freeing to be able to have that level of confidence, awareness, and be good and all right with who I am to be alone. And that's number two is learning how to be with myself, love myself, and most of all, I'm very easygoing with myself, so I laugh at myself quite a bit. So, number one, meditation, prayer, journaling. Number two is being with me, myself. Now, number three and four, it's number three is probably more of a get into some hippie stuff. I start to view things in what is meant to be, I guess. If I start looking at the whole world, let's say, even just the planet itself, we got billions of people. If I look at the timeline of this planet, I've only been here for this much. And if we go beyond our planet on how big and what's actually out there, how massive our universe is, I start to see how really insignificant a lot of the things I make it out to be big problems or big challenges. In the grand scheme of things, it's probably just a blip. This is not that big of a deal. So I get to a point where I understand we can continually inspire, help, make the world a better place. At the same time, you know, it's such a small part. Does it help? Yeah. Does it all add up? Yes, it does. And some will have bigger impact than others. Overall, though, I take myself less seriously by understanding this point too. Is we're here for a short period of time, you know. If you start seeing things in perspective, I'm one person and I'm here for a blink, right? So a lot of the challenges that do take me out of my peace and my peaceful place, I start to realize it's really not that big of a deal, you know. So I see things in that bigger spectrum, right? And the last one, I'll give it to you, is something a little bit more tangible. I ran this through my team yesterday, my Salesforce, and I just titled it "Put Yourself in the Future." Okay, so whatever the time frame might be, in the sales world, we always run for a month end. So I shared with them and taught them how to do it from month to month. I do this on a life also. You heard people say in a lot of courses, write your own eulogy. If you were to not be here, what do you want people to remember you as? How do you want to describe you? That's the same thought process, right? So yesterday I went to my sales team. I go, okay, if March were to end today, how do you feel about your numbers? How do you feel about your level of production, what you contributed, how much effort you put in? And I play it all out. If today was the last day of March, how do you feel? How do you like it? Right? And if you don't like it, what about it don't you like? Let's get into it. All right? So they get to feel all of it. If today was end of the month and this is what their results are at, they will know exactly what that feels like. So it doesn't have to be the end of the month and now we're being reactive, living regrets. We can be proactive now because we have the ability to feel what it feels like before it actually happens. All right? Once they know that and they're not happy with where they're currently at, I would then ask them if it were to be 100% satisfied. Okay? Month end, March 31st, you love what you see in your business. What would that look like? All right? Give me some tangible stuff. What would it feel like? All right? No judgment, no apologies. Let's go. All right? What would it be like? And then once they know what that feels like, so they know what it feels like if the month ended and they didn't like it, the areas that they would want to improve on. And I would go, if it were to be 100%, what would it look like or what would it feel like? Okay, here's the good news. Today's only the 15th, 16th, so you got 2 weeks to live that out. Now they can wake up every day for the next 2 weeks chasing down something that they know what it feels like, they know what it looks like, and they know they have the ability to do it. So that when March 31st actually arrives, they're probably closer to what they want the business to look like as opposed to their current state, current situation, right? So that's very powerful. I do that on a week to week basis that I put in my all and allows me to max out today, knowing that if today were to be the end of the month, I'm not happy with today's results, right? So I do that on a life standpoint too, you know. I'm not, you know, due to regular life expectancy, I would say I have many years left, although no one really knows. So I've come to term somewhere along the way here. I've come to term that if I were to not be here tomorrow, what would that look like? How would I feel? Am I all right with what I've done with the years that I've been given up to now? And I can reflect that as if I would do the same with my month end. If my life was done now, what would it look like? What would it feel like? Am I satisfied with that? If not, why not? Which part? What would you want it to look like? If it were to be perfect and you can lay to rest easy, what's missing? And I can come back and start living my life day by day, pursuing that feeling of if I were to be gone tomorrow, I'll be all right with that. So just yesterday too, I was listening to this song. I found it to be very beautiful song. My sister walked in and she was saying, "Man, this song is emo. It's kind of dark. You know, why listen to that?" And talking about death for me is not a fear thing. For me, is actually a very gratitude thing. I've come to peace with that. So when I understand what that's going to be like and what it's going to be if I were to not be here, what would my life look like? What is the meaning of it? I get to live my day to day pursuing that. So that's on a bigger scale of how I find peace today as I'm prepared, right? You guys hear that all the time. To put things into perspective, maybe go volunteer in a hospice or something like that for a week, a month, and talk to people. that are on the last days. And a lot of times there's a lot of regret lingering in places like that. And for me to be in a personal development world, I hear that all the time, and I actually live that out myself. If I were to be there, what are some of the words that would come out of my mouth if people were to visit? And I start living that life now, right? So that brings me a lot of peace too. So those are some tangible questions, some actual stuff that you can apply to see if it can help you live a much more peaceful life today. So those are just a quick 4 points, guys. Number one, I learned to journal. I learned to meditate, prayers, and just be present and at peace with myself and using those tools. Number two, I'm very comfortable with myself. I learn to laugh at myself, not take things so seriously. Number three, look at things at a bigger picture, at a grander scale, and realize that it is not that big of a deal at the end of the day. And number four, I learned to live my life out as if I were to be gone today. Am I all right with that? Right? And I'm happy to say that I'm very happy. I'm very blessed. And if I were to be gone tomorrow, I'll be all right. Right? Here's the good news: I'm not, and I still got today to go. So I'm gonna live every moment out. So if that day were to show up, I'll be perfectly satisfied. Right? So those are quick 4 points to put things into perspective for me to live a much healthier, much more peaceful life today. So that's kind of what's been on my mind, what's on my heart. I want to share that with you guys. I hope you guys got value on that. If you do, please leave a message. If you like it, hit the like button. And I think the most important part is to share. I know you guys are part of this community. We get to communicate and talk all the time. My hopes and goal is to grow the community. There's people that are starting to join the group that I don't know, I've never met before, and that's just all due to you guys sharing the content and they find value and they come join us. So the most important, I would say, if you found value, you like what I said, you resonate with that, share it. In today's day and age, when we're all a little bit locked up, you never know who can use that message, all right? So comment, like, and share, and I would appreciate that. So thanks for being here, guys. Enjoy the rest of your day, guys. Have a great one.